Moving on to testing. So please test your code. And the way to do that initially is going to Etherscan, going to another block explorer, and finding those transactions that should trigger an alert from the agent that you're writing. Etherscan has some really great facilities for being able to drill down to the contract you're interested in, the events that come from it. Sometimes they'll even label some of these, transactions that are exploits or anything like that. So find that transaction hash and use that as you're developing your agent to see, is my agent sending up an alert from this transaction, which I know it should. If you have something that you expect an alert to be emitted for frequently, it may be enough just to run the agent from your terminal. And after a minute or two, you may have some transactions already. Go ahead and save those transaction hashes and use those in testing to make sure that everything is still happening the way you expect it to. And as I said, again, Etherscan, I'll probably say the word Etherscan almost as much as Forta in this talk, but Etherscan is a really good tool to use, and other block explorers are really good for digging down and finding, the events that should be triggering your agent. Unit tests are an absolute necessity. Every agent should have. So if you have an agent that is made up of a bunch of handlers, all of those handlers should have unit tests. You need to be certain that when you run your code, if it's emitting an alert, if it's submitting an alert to the scan node, that it's doing it for the right reasons. Or if it's not submitting alerts, that's also for the right reasons. So your unit test should provide positive cases where I know under these conditions an alert should be submitted, and then negative cases where I know for certain it shouldn't be submitted. Edge cases can be really tough to find, but are again very critical. What happens if a divide by zero comes in? What if I didn't think about that? Does the whole thing crash? What if I have the right event topic, but it's not from the right address? I need to be able to say my agent is not going to trigger on that, or my agent is not going to just go belly up. Mocking is an art form, but you need to mock all of the external modules that you're using. During your test, you should not be reaching out to the world. You should not be reaching out to the internet. You shouldn't be reaching out to websites and JSON RPC providers. That should all be mocked out in your tests. And you should be able to simulate that so that you know exactly what's coming in for each of your test cases. Something we've run into is it's very easy to get a false sense of security when you don't hard code your test case values. The situation that can occur is I run my agent, and that's a piece of code. I run another piece of code that will generate my simulated finding, and I compare the two results. Well, what happens if they're both not working and they both give you undefined? Well, now your test passes, but you didn't know it. You thought it was all good, but it wasn't really. So we recommend hard coding the expected value that your agent should return for each of those cases, and asserting or doing an expect against that to make sure that you're not passing tests improperly or incorrectly.